Hi. Once upon a time, I was a very organized person. I knew my schedule. I really was in control of my calendar, of my to-do list, and so on. And then I became a mom, and I think a lot of you know when I became a mom, what happens. So I really lost that ability to be in charge of my time and my day, and so because I had another little human who really depends on me, who doesn't have a schedule, and who I cannot predict how everything goes with him. And I wanted to start my business, Thriving Career Moms. So at that time, I was like really struggling, trying to find a way, and so on. Until one day, I reached out to Anna Runyan, who was my inspiration and my support during my career change 4 years ago, and also after becoming a mom. And I asked her how is her system, how she managed to have her business besides having two little girls. And I'm so happy today because she is joining us. Let me welcome Anna.
Hi.
Hi, Anna.
Hi. Thanks for
Welcome.
having me.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you?
I'm well, really well. Thank you for joining, and I'm so excited about our talk today about your system and how to be more focused and balanced. Can you let us know a little bit more about you, your background, how many kids and what their age, and yeah, where are you right now?
Yeah. My name is Anna Runyan, and I am the founder and CEO of Classy Career Girl. It is a blog I started way back in 2010, and now it's my full-time business. And I have two little girls. Mila is 6 and Sienna is 2. So that keeps me very, very busy. But I decided to turn my blog into a business right around the time that Mila was born, who's now 6. So around 2014, that's when I really got serious because I knew that my day job was really stressful. It was exhausting. I worked really long hours. I was traveling once a month across the country. And so I just knew that I wasn't going to be able to do that as a mom someday. So I knew I needed to build my business so that I could have the time and the flexibility and the freedom to spend with my daughter once she arrived someday. Because I didn't have her yet, but I just knew that that was like my vision of being that happy working mama and being able to spend time with my kids. That's what I wanted.
Nice. And then when you started, and then she came, how did you manage having? Because I know you traveled with her when she was just a baby and she was behind the camera in one of your speeches. How did you manage to grow your business when you are having Mila? And what challenges do you face it, and what helped you overcome them?
Yeah, I got an invitation to speak in Brazil, and it was when she was 3 months old. And so we were crazy, and we we brought her on a flight when she was 3 months old. They almost did not give her a visa because they thought we should not be doing that. But we were just going with the flow and having fun. And so yeah, so she came with. Luckily, she was sleeping a lot, and my husband came with too, and so he was able to take care of her while I was doing my speech and everything. But in the beginning, I mean, it was pretty hard. It was pretty stressful. I think one of the big things that just kept me going though was I knew that I always wanted to like help other women like you. Like I had this like passion and this purpose, and I wanted to like make an impact. And so I had a bigger why, like a bigger reason. So there was that even though it was hard and it was stressful, time consuming. I still had this like purpose, and that I think was really important because it like drove me even when times were really tough, things weren't really working as how I wanted them to work, or I was in the middle of a launch and it was crazy, and or my daughter wasn't sleeping, or just something. There's always going to be something, but I always that purpose just like kept pushing me through, that I was getting thank yous from people, like every time someone said a thank you, I'm like, okay, I'm on the right track. I am doing this for a reason, even though it's hard right now. And then I also just knew that, when I was just happy to be able to spend that time with her too, because I quit my day job 6 weeks after she was born. So after maternity leave, I just didn't go back. So I just was like, I just knew that I was happy and blessed to be able to spend that time with her. And I feel like that was the easy part, because she slept a lot, right? And then they grow up and they don't sleep as much.
we have a good sleeper, but I also have my son who sleeps well. So fortunately, yeah, I understand. So purpose is the first thing, and then I know, because you are also a focused person, like this is one of your strengths. How did you create a system so that you can focus? And can you tell us a little bit more about how did you make it to get focused? Yeah.
Yeah, so you're right. One of my top strengths on the Strengths Finder assessment is focus. So for me, that means not having a lot of things on my to-do list, because that overwhelms me. And I know we all, like, at times you have 20 things on your to-do list, right, that you're supposed to do. So for me, my system starts with not like every day giving yourself max 3 things to get done that day, and starting the day knowing what those 3 things are. And then when I get one done, it's like, yay, I'm like on track. I'm doing something. It's you're heading in the right direction, rather than I got one of 20 things done. Oh, I still have so much more. That just feels like so much more weight on your shoulders. So it starts with that. As a new mom, or as a mom of a kid of any age, you have a lot to do. And I think that's important, is not, really prioritizing what is the most important thing for you, because we can't do it all. And that was one of my big mistakes in the beginning, trying to do it all and be superwoman. And I think that knowing your values, knowing your priorities, maybe saying no to some things. I had to say no to a lot of things when I became a new mom too, because I couldn't go to all the networking events. I couldn't go all the speaking events. Like, I had to prioritize what was most important to me. So I think that's a big thing. And I can kind of go over the whole planning system too. I think that was one thing you wanted me to talk about too.
Yeah, especially about your ideal schedule, because this is one of the things that you told me about when I asked you how did you manage. You told me about your ideal calendar or schedule. If you can give us more about this. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things I always recommend, because my whole mission is helping women find career fulfillment. So it all starts with creating your ideal work day, which is like dreaming of what that ideal day might look like. So what time do you wake up? What do you do right when you wake up? Do you work in a big office, or do you work at home? What do you do for lunch? Do you go out for lunch? Do you eat at home? Do you get together with other people after work? Do you go to the gym? If you could have like any dream work day, what would it look like? Would you be working on your own business? Would you be working for a company like blank? Like, maybe you have a dream company that you want to work for. And I think that's really important. I think that I need to go back and like do that exercise again for myself as well, like on an annual basis. I need to do that right now, because everything's changed so much. But I think when we have that ideal work day, then we can fit in little things in there. Like it might be really hard to have that ideal work day. For me, it is with 2 kids. I'm homeschooling right now. And I can't have that exact ideal work day, but I can fit little things in there that are my ideal work day, whether it's, reading a book for 15 minutes, like having a cup of tea or, something, maybe taking it easy in the mornings, doing a little yoga, like knowing what that ideal work day is allows you to add in those things, even though you might not be able to get the perfect all day work day.
Yeah. Do you like have it in your calendar, like using some time blocks, or how is it like the ideal day you have? Because
Yeah, if you can block out your time. So, what I always recommend is something called batching, where you put similar tasks together. So, for example, if I needed to review email, I wouldn't do that all the way through the day. I would put that in certain blocks on my calendar, because you're going to be able to move through things a lot faster when you have those blocks on your calendar. So that is one of the first things I did when I was starting to grow my business and had very limited time, is I did create kind of like a Google spreadsheet, and I did plan out my calendar. So like this hour I was going to be working on this hour is going to be working on this. And then the times where I was like having meetings and talking to people, those were different days, so that I was able to like kind of plan out. And I still do this today. Like even I'm planning out next year on Tuesdays are my like calls, appointments day. So any sort of calls, any interviews, anything in our membership site that I'm working on, that I'm doing any sort of live event, it's going to be Tuesdays. And then that way I have more flexibility on the other days to do more projects like writing or content creation or things where I'm not like interrupted by doing like an interview or something like that. So that's ideal for me, is to be able, like my dream day would be to have 8 hours to just focus on like content creation and write a book. That's not going to happen anytime soon. Maybe when my kids go to college, I'll get an 8-hour workday back. But I think it's important to know that you can do a lot of things just in 15 minutes a day or 30 minutes a day. So when I have like a break, when I have 15 minutes, I know I can usually get something done on my to-do list, because that's a priority, because or just make progress on a bigger project. It's all those small blocks of time. And you've done a great job taking action during those small blocks of time, Sarah.
Yeah, exactly. I think the fact that you, because I tried your method, and the fact that you categorize, like this day is for this or this amount, it's not by hour, because with a baby especially, like I cannot plan by hour. So when I have like this block of time in the morning before his nap, before like this, I do this thing and then this thing. It brings a lot of clarity. And also like because I still struggle sometimes to make it to go through it, like I mean apply it, but when I do it I really feel the difference in terms of like being not stressed. And so like it makes a huge difference. And so in the beginning it was really difficult for me to believe, okay, ideal schedule, but this will never happen. I mean, why I'm doing it? But then when I experience it, I think this is what Anna means when she said it. Like to have, yeah.
It's so important to be flexible like that, because as moms, you have to be flexible. You can't plan down to the minute. So I'm glad that helped.
Yeah, thank you. The other part of focus is, I mean, the instant connection, like to check social media, the phone, the email. How do you organize these things in your life?
So I'm not the best at answering emails. So that's one thing that, if I'm lucky, like one time a week, I will go in there and respond and answer to emails. Social media. So the one thing too, as we've grown the business, I've been able to learn more about like delegating and building a team. So I do have 2 virtual assistants. So it's funny, as I say, email and social media. One of my virtual assistants, Beverly, she helps me with my email, and my other virtual assistant, Laura, helps me with social media. So as you know, as we've grown, then I've been able to start delegating to assistants who've been able to help me to free up some time, which I highly recommend. Even in the very beginning, I hired Laura, my virtual assistant, I think within just a few months of running my company. And she was really able to help me because I had a full-time job at that time too. But when it comes to, so email is a great example. Email is not high on my priority list. Like it is not a value of mine. It's not something that's going to impact my kids' lives, checking my email, responding to my email. It's not something that's going to impact, you know, my clients' lives. And so it's not high on my priority list every day because I know my time's better used elsewhere. So that's a great example of I don't let email overwhelm me if my inbox is not at 0. It's not very often at 0. But I know that I'm getting the most important things that I need to be able to serve my customers and clients. And as you know, I'm very available in the Facebook group of our membership Facebook group. That's kind of where my clients know to find me, and they can, you know, get support that they need right there. So that's part of it, is knowing what's important. And then as far as social media, for me, it's just really limiting the scroll time. I mean, I think that's where I waste a lot of time, is just kind of like the scroll time. And so just having like systems in place where, like, you know, in the morning, this is my system in the morning, step. And so I don't get, I know I have that limited time. And so knowing those steps that I need to take in the morning, whether it's like affirmations, write my to-do list, you know, do some stretching. And I'm usually interrupted like all morning by the kids doing that. It doesn't happen very quickly, but I just know, like, before I go downstairs, you know, to make my breakfast, like, these are like the 5 things that I like try and check off. So that helps with the distractions on social media as well. But I think it's just not putting pressure on yourself that you have to post at a certain time every day, you know, and just, you know, posting when you have something to say too, and when it's well thought out as well, because you don't want to just post something just to have post as well.
Yeah. So how do you get, maybe for the moms especially, how do you get to the 3 priorities? Let us know more about how do you get to that 3 priority, like, yeah.
Okay. So basically it all comes back to the weekly review. So every Sunday, and it kind of has been seeping into Monday morning, but I do my weekly review. So it goes back to 3. So every week I have 3 priorities that I want to complete that week as well. And so every week I go through, I write down the top 3 priorities for the week, you know, the personal items that I want to get done, the administrative items that I want to get done, and kind of write it out just all on one sheet. And we can share with everyone how to get the free planner so they can use the planning system as well. But just writing down my to-do list for the week. And then that makes the daily planning so much easier, because then I know when Monday starts, I know what that top priority is. I know what I need to be working on, because I've done that weekly planning. And it might be hard to start with, but just putting that part on your calendar. I always say, you know, when you have the right plan, the doing is easy. So when you know what your plan is, then it's a lot easier to know what you should be doing every day. But then, I mean, it really backs up too, because as you create your annual plan and your 90-day plan, which I teach you guys how to do in my free planning system as well, that all helps you figure out what to do every week as well. So it's a really big picture system. It really starts with looking back to the past year, you know, kind of celebrating your small wins, thinking back to like what has worked, what has not worked. And, with your family life as well, I always combine my like business planning and my personal planning too, because they're so intertwined. Like,
Yeah.
5 minutes before this, I was changing a diaper, and so it's like everything's all intertwined. And the reason I do what I do is for, my family too. And so, but yeah, it starts with looking back, and then it leads into creating your vision too of like where you want to be in the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. And before that, there is the purpose and thing, which is the origin of everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you for sharing this. Okay, what does balance look like to you?
Balance. Okay. So balance to me is I think about it as focus too, because when you know what your values and your priorities are, then you can take action on those things. For example, like I was able to quit a day job that was not lined up with my priorities whatsoever. If I would have kept that day job and tried to become a mom, like I would have think I would have been very stressed. I don't know. I would have gotten burnt out for sure. So to me, making decisions based off your values and your priorities, that helps you become more balanced. So there's decisions that you make. For example, like right now, over this last year, I've decreased a lot of products and stuff that I used to sell in my business, in search of balance too, because I wanted to kind of not have so many things to sell, because everything you sell, it takes more time and energy. So for me, that has freed up more time for me to spend with my family as well. So it's making a decision. Like if I wanted to make more money, then I could have kept all those 10 products that I sold the year before. But I'm making a decision based off my values and priorities. Like we're just going to sell one thing, and we're going to get really good at it. So it's actually the income's coming because we're getting really good at selling that one thing. But there's more time and energy that I have now because I'm homeschooling due to COVID. I'm now homeschooling my first grader, which was not in my plan the beginning of this year. But it's because I'm making choices in my business, it's now freed up that time. So I do feel like there is more balance in there. I'm able to balance the workload of my work and my business with the workload of being a first grade teacher and daycare for the 2-year-old too, right?
Yeah, I see. Yeah, thank you for sharing this. Awesome. Have you experienced it, like, because I asked moms what's the thing that you want to get more of, and most of the moms said sleep. Did you go through some phases where with Mila or what's the name of your second daughter?
Sienna.
Yeah, Sienna or Sienna. Did you go of any phases of like the sleep instability and deprivation? And so, how did you manage at that time? How did you deal with yourself and with your schedule? Share with us.
Yeah, sleep is so important. I mean, if there's any way that you can get more sleep at any time of motherhood, like I would never say, work more than sleep, because your brain's going to work so much better. You're going to have so much energy, more energy for your kids and for your career, the more sleep that you get. So that's first of all, like, thinking of ways, I took a lot of naps. So for me, I mean, obviously I had, I think every newborn wakes up, at all hours of the night. And so I definitely struggled, in the beginning. My daughter also had a tongue tie. And so we really struggled, getting her to be able to even eat. And so both my daughters had that. So that was a big struggle, in the beginning as well. And so I think for me, it was decreasing those priorities. So I didn't have so much that I needed to do, giving myself in the beginning that maternity leave too, giving myself that time in the beginning where I didn't feel like I had a huge weight on my shoulders. I know that they say nap when the baby naps. I know it's really hard.
It's hard, yeah.
It is hard, but it is also a good idea.
Yeah.
It is, because that is time, even if it's just like I know for me, my 2.5-year-old has stopped napping, so I'm very jealous of your naps. But when she was napping just like a month or two ago, I would always and I still try and do this, is I would take some time to just like lay down and rest. And just like read a book, and let myself nap. I mean, I think for so long, because I mean, before COVID, I never would have done this, because I'm going here and going there and dropping them off here and picking them up, and then they have to go to this activity. But because of this like time at home, like I'm definitely letting myself sleep more and just like rest more too. And I think that's been like, that's very different for me as well, of being like rested. And I know I'm like I'm a lot, more energized and
Yeah,
stuff too.
yeah.
So
I mean, it's exactly what's happened to me. Like, it's hard to nap because we have too much to do. I mean,
yeah,
when the baby naps, but then slowly I started, especially lately. For me, in my case, like especially lately, I started to say, "Is this really important to do right now?" Okay, no, then it's more important that I go to sleep and have some rest.
good for you. Yeah, I think, and it comes back with of knowing like your priorities too, knowing
Right,
how
yeah.
you need to get done that day. Is this important? Is this something like, for me, dishes and like, go take the nap over the dishes, right? Or like cleaning up. And so, because your kids should be watching you do that stuff too. They can help out. And so I think like saving the dishes for them when they're sleeping, like I like to like involve them in stuff too. So I say, go take the nap. Your house doesn't need to look perfect.
Yeah.
And if you do get, 15 minutes of that nap time, maybe like focusing on, something that you can do to move your goals and your career forward too.
Yeah, it makes having a nap even helps, and like being more focused after. And so, yeah,
Exactly. And I would do a lot of training too, like courses and stuff, but while the kids are awake too, so you can always like listen to things, while you're with your kids too.
do you have any tips for like how do you do it when there is kids around? If you have few tips to share.
Well, well, one of the things I always trying to do is some sort of like podcast or learning. So there's some sort of like thing that I'm learning. And that you can do while they're like, being active. But lately, like I kind of have been, I want my kids to like play together and create things and just like be creative and like and so if I found like if I just, instead of being like, let's do this and let's do this and let's do this, but if I just kind of like let them be for a little while, all of a sudden they're making like ice cream trucks and they're making plays and they're singing and they're like just creating and like having fun. So I think that's one thing I've learned too, is just to kind of like step back for a little bit. I could just go read a book and watch them play, watch them kind of create their own little world, because it's so much better for them to be doing that too. So but yeah, that's one thing. And then just and learning, I mean, using that time for learning. We don't have to be necessarily like working all the time. Like I try and like
Listening to
do a lot
something.
of like learning too, and just like listening and podcasts and
Mm.
audiobooks right now. Like I just am consuming a lot of like audio. It's hard to read a book these days, but like I listen to a lot of audiobooks too. So, don't think, and they're watching you too. They're watching you learn too, and they're learning too. Like, so I want them, and like my daughter's learning how to read and to write. And so watching me read, just kind of like modeling that too. And then eventually write too. Like I got to get back to my writing. That's one thing on my goals list too, because she has to write for her school too. So it's kind of just like a time now. I think at 6, she's just a little bit older where she's now can more model some of the things that I'm doing in my business too. If I'm on the computer writing, she can write too, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, with my son, he already models this at this like 18 months old, and he also wants to do stuff like me. Yeah. You talked about your planner, and you have a free planner. And can you tell us where they can find it, and also how can people connect with you or Classy Career Girl?
Yeah, so this is the perfect time to talk about the planner because we're just getting ready to start planning the new year. But yeah, anyone can go grab the free digital planner. It's at www.classycareergirl.com/free plan. And it's a 30-page planner, and it's kind of gives you my planning system so you can create your 90-day plan, your annual plan, your vision, and then your weekly plan too. So it'll kind of get you in that system to start planning for the new year. And we're going to do another planning workshop coming up too. So if you sign up for the planner, you'll get the details for the planning workshop too. So we can all do it together.
This is nice. A good opportunity for.
I know. I didn't even realize that, but it's coming.
Yeah. I was wondering, maybe is it in the right time for the planning things, and so it's good. You have something. So, mamas, if you are like want to plan for 2021, then this is the right opportunity. I used it in 2016. I remember that when I decided to quit my job and look for another job.
Good for you. I know. I'm so proud of you too, how far you've come too. So like let's applaud you too for all the work you're doing to help moms too. I love it.
Thank you. Do you have any motto that you live by and would love to share with our listeners as a last thing?
Yeah, I mean, you've heard this a million times, but just taking imperfect action in like baby steps. Like I can't repeat that enough. That's how I am where I am today, is just baby steps, like 15 minutes, and it's not going to look perfect, but like just getting on here and doing it and moving forward, and is going to like all add up in the long run. All those actions are going to be that thing, that goal that you want.
Yeah, that's always, I remember myself of it. Thank you so much, Anna, for sharing with us these tips and advices. And I look forward to having you also in my community, Thriving Career Moms, to give us more details about how to set the system. And have a nice day.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me. This was fun.
Thank you. Bye-bye.